Hey HBs, you're listening to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels and other love stories with happy endings while dishing and discussing. Let's start off with a Patreon shout-out. Madison W., you are a cockatrice, a majestic two-legged dragon with a rooster's head. You are a feared and powerful beast. Closely related to the basilisk, the death-darting eye of a cockatrice can kill a man with just a glance. To hatch a cockatrice, a 7-year-old rooster must lay an egg under a full moon, and a serpent must care for the egg for 9 years. This very complicated hatching system has made you one of the rarest creatures in all of mythology. You've actually become so famous and legendary that you appear in the Bible and Shakespeare and Harry Potter. The only weakness you have is the call of a rooster. So, dear Lord, don't go anywhere near Aaron's house. To get your very own shout-out and other gifts, visit our Patreon. Our guest today was gracious enough to stick around after recording to do a Patreon-only section. So that's going to be added to the over 70 bonus episodes already there. And now, KATEE Robert joins me. Her newest novel, The Beast, which is the most recent addition to the Wicked Villains series, comes out today. So make sure you get to any ebook seller and pick it up. You will not regret it with this ménage between Isabel, Gaten, and the Beast. It is seriously sizzling. Today we recap The Mummy. When choosing this flick, she said that she can trace her taste in romantic relationships back to this movie. And it also imprinted on me at a young age, so it was especially fun. Without further ado, let's get to the one and only KATEE Robert and The Mummy. Hi, KATEE. Oh my god, this is a dream come true. Hi.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! How are you these days?
You know,
These
doing pretty
times. Good. Yeah?
I bought some noise-canceling headphones, and I feel like 10% more in control of my world, so it's going good.
That's really, really nice. Yeah, I saw your calls on social media for that, and I was like, I have nothing to add to this conversation. Oh, no.
Yeah, my husband is, like, building shelves in our garage to keep himself occupied, and I'm like, oh, no, this will not work. I need something. Oh, God.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to be in my own little world while I work.
Yes, exactly.
Because you work constantly. I sort of don't understand the amount of output you are capable of.
It's actually kind of funny. I don't, like, hour-wise, I don't actually work all that much, but since having my youngest, he's 4.5, almost 5.
Yeah.
And so I've learned to, like, compress time into, like, 15-minute writing sprints. So
Ooh.
It adds up to, like, 2.5, maybe 3 hours of writing a day, give or take.
Wow, okay.
But it's just in fits and starts always.
That's incredible. Because, like, I feel like anytime I try to start a project these days, like, once my brain gets into it, I gotta go again. And I'm like, oh, that's neat. That's fun.
Yeah, it's desperate times, desperate measures kind of thing. He didn't sleep very much the first, like, 13 months. So, and I still had contracts and, like, I don't know. I have whole books that I wrote that I have no memory of. So, so now he starts kindergarten, not next fall, but so we have like a year left. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with all that time. Like, oh my God.
That's really exciting though.
Oh, it so is. I'm so ready. But now no one's in school, so we're making do.
Oh, I know. We're all just, like, on top of each other like sardines in this social distancing situation.
Yeah. My older two are 14 and will be 13 on 4th, so they can kind of occupy themselves to some degree. So it's not as bad as it could be by any means.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we've got some questions probably for the Patreon only session just about your process and how you're able to do everything that you do, because again, your level of productivity, I feel like you have more hours in your day than I do. But yeah, it's neat that you can fit it into like 15-minute sprints. That's really, really cool. Yeah, and you can get right back into the story.
Yeah, well, yeah, I have playlists, and so the playlists really help like get my mind like where it needs to be. But writing is like one of my self-care things, so it's like must do it or I start going a little frayed around the edges.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome that you've managed to turn like a self-care thing into a business, that you don't hate still.
Yeah. I mean, ask me on any given day and the answer might be a little differently, but yeah.
That's true. Well, what do you have coming up? I know that you pushed up the date for the Beast, right?
Yes, because I'm really excited. I was thinking about doing it anyways, but then my husband's work has been declared unessential, so I'm like, we'll just do some maneuvering. So yes, the Beast, which is Gaten, the Beast, and Isabel, will be out April 13th, and it's like, that book. I was like sweating writing it. It's so hot.
Oh my gosh. Seriously, listener, like I don't know. She melted my heart, and then she melted my brain, and then my pants melted. And I don't know how it happened. Yes, I do. Those three. Oh my gosh.
They just don't communicate that well unless someone's naked. It's just how it works.
I support them in all of their endeavors, frankly.
It was... Oh, go ahead.
No. It's really cool because it's like a second chance lovers, but also an enemies to lovers. And I don't know. I mean, even that seems incredible to me. Just that premise alone, let alone everything else that's baked in.
It was probably the most complicated menage I've written to date, in that the guys have so much history of like competition and anger and like thwarted lust between them. And then they both dated her like simultaneously with everyone's knowledge, like for a period of time before it fell apart. And so reunited lovers is so tricky because you have to have a legitimate reason why they fell apart, and you also have a legitimate reason why they will work now when they didn't before. And for these guys, they just put her on a pedestal because she was the princess, and they wanted they weren't honest about what they really wanted, and she wasn't super honest either, and so it just like was awful. And so now they're being very honest.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. And Isabel's arc is really cool because of her place in her family, and also the way that these men treated her. It almost seems like she didn't have the space to be honest at first. Like, not only did she not have the tools to be honest about what she wanted romantically or sexually or whatever else, but she also didn't quite have the space because she was having to perform this pedestal as much as they were putting her on it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it's really, really good when they just rip her down off of it.
It is, and there's so much anger, and they like kind of use her between them, like to like communicate essentially of like 'cause she's got a humiliation kink, which is just delicious, and it's really interesting how she sort of facilitates them bonding, but ultimately it's Gaten and her that really have the most ground to cover because he is like, a little crunchy on the outside, but he is such a cinnamon roll on the inside.
He's
and she
such
broke
a sweetie.
He just wanted to take care of her, except he wasn't honest. And so, so he has the most her, because he actually proposed and she said no. And so he has the most ground and forgiveness and trust to recover between the two of them ultimately. Because Beast is and we're all going to be together. It's going to be great.
Oh man,
maybe
Beast
I won't tell you that this is what I want.
Yeah. Beast he has a plan, and he's like, this is how it's gonna work. These bitches don't know it yet, but I am gonna make it happen. Oh, it's so good.
You're mine, and you know what? Just it'll happen.
Ooh, yeah. So don't sit on this one, you guys. You gotta treat yourself to the Beast. This is April 13th.
Yes, and it should go without saying, but the sword cross guarantee between the dudes that there is much action.
Yeah, and all of those scenes are just palpably hot. Like,
the one that surprised me the most was I did not plan for Aurora, because she's like one of the reoccurring characters through this series, and her book will be the last book. And I didn't expect the growth that she had, and also that she's become kind of a little bratty, submissive, and like Mrs. Steal Your Girl. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the way that you talk about your process and the way that you talk about writing is like, it almost seems like so much of this is a surprise even to you, even though you're the one crafting the story. How does that work?
I'm a pantser of sorts, in that I usually have some sort of like, I go in with like a trope, and I have some basic character work that I do, and so I know approximately what is going on, but it's almost like my subconscious is so much smarter than I am, because things play out and it surprises me, and it's like, oh my god, like this scene towards the end with where Aurora takes place, I had no plans for that, and it just sort of, and they like had her changing, and Aurora sort of like got a little saucy, and I was like, oh, that's gonna happen. And then it's one of my favorites, like, in this whole series now. So it's I just kind of lay the groundwork and see what happens, and it just sort of flows. And I don't know, it's as close to magic as I can get in like our world, I think.
No, I think that you're just a magic doer. Let's not sell KATEE Robert short here, shall we?
Well, I've had a lot of practice at this point.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, and then you have other series that you're working on too, right? There's an Olympus series that you just...
Yes, I'm actually almost done with it's a Hades and Persephone, not to be confused with Hades from the Wicked Villain series, different Hades. They do happen in the same world, but different people. And so it's the start of a new series that will happen in like Olympus, essentially, that covers some of the reimagined myths, because I am definitely playing fast and loose with certain elements, because most Greek myths end tragically. So justice for, Cassandra kind of thing. So the first one will be Hades and Persephone, and then Psyche and Eros. Yeah. And then the third one will be Helen and Achilles, because Paris is a punk bitch and I hate him.
I support that. I super support that.
I'm going to die mad that Hector died for him, and I hate Paris. So, yes.
Yeah,
so
same. Hector was so noble and good and, hot.
Yeah. Eric Bana forever.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
Yeah, Troy had a very strong impression on me in my formative years, so that is just going to get to play out in this series. So I'm really excited.
Actually, me too. I decided to basically break up with a person I was dating during Troy. But, like, here's my thing. Don't take me to see a movie in which Brad Pitt is all oiled up and stuff, and, like,
Perfection.
And then, like, be needy and gross. Like, just don't set yourself up for that kind of parallel. Don't do it.
That's so funny. I actually met my ex-husband at Troy. Like, whoa. Yeah. He had really nice biceps, and, like, I think he was drunk, and we, like, I don't know, I was 17, so I was like, oh my gosh.
There you go.
But yeah, but I all that aside, I love that movie quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. The amount of flesh in that movie is just fantastic.
I feel like they really knew their audience.
Well, actually, can I say, I saw the movie we're going to talk about today in a formative time in my life too. But the differences that I experienced watching it last night to my memory of it, like, I think that you and a couple of other dirty birds have had a much bigger impact on my psyche than I have given you credit for, frankly. Because I watched this movie and I was like, oh, fuck, you guys, the mummy is so hot.
See, I didn't, like, I saw it when it came out, so I was, like, junior high-ish, like, 14 maybe, and it didn't have the impact on me that it did, like, later, but even watching it again, like, I watched it, I think, last week, and I was just like, Brendan Fraser just gets better every time I see this movie. He's such a gift. Like, in his tight pants, and and the mummy's super hot, and everybody's hot and really good at their jobs, and
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, because see, that's the thing. Nothing about that changed. I mean, he was the heartthrob from the beginning for me. There was no complication back in the day. It was just...
I always enjoyed Imhotep just because he did it for love. And if you do it for love, I can forgive literally anything, pretty much. But I did have an interesting reaction to him kissing Evie instead, because I'm like, no, she's not your girlfriend. She's just your human sacrifice. Stop it.
Wait, this time or when you first saw it?
Just this time, for whatever reason.
Interesting. Yeah. Meanwhile, I was standing there chanting, kiss, 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 kiss. Well, I don't know what happened.
That's always been my reaction up to date, so I don't know what shifted, but I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
The movie contains legions.
It does. Well, should we get into it?
Sure, yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, so Katee chose this movie. And why did you choose it? Let's tell the listener.
So I chose The Mummy because when you said romantic movie, it is the epitome of one of the best romantic relationships that I love in fiction. They're both super hot. He's super into her. She's super into him. I mean, we're only doing the second movie, but in the we're doing the first movie, but in the second movie, they're still madly in love. And it's just that. I just love them so much. And so, yes, there's mummies and murder and whatever, and the romantic relationship between Imhotep and Anck-su-namun is also superior in every way because they, came back from death to be together. So,
hell yeah. Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah. I told my partner Michael that we were gonna be doing this and I needed to watch the movie and stuff. And he goes, "Why are you doing The Mummy?" And I was like, "Because it's a super amazing romance." And he was like, No, it's not. It is an action movie." And I was like, "You sweet, sweet summer child.
How dare you?
Don't."
They literally ride off into the sunset together at the end.
Absolutely. I was like, don't let the flash and bang and intrigue take away from the good stuff. Just go away. Don't be ridiculous.
What it follows all the romantic beats pretty religiously. It is, yes, shock and bang, but romance, kissing.
Yeah, so good. Okay, so it starts off. We are in ancient Egypt in the city of Thebes. And Pharaoh's mistress? Girlfriend? Is Pharaoh married to somebody else? I don't know how this works. Do you know?
She's not his wife. She's property of some sort, whether literally or otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, so her name is Anck-su-namun, and she is hot.
Very.
And she is... The Pharaoh pulls a Night King move, and he paints her all up so that he knows when other people touch her.
Yes. And I didn't even make that connection why I love that so much in that book, but that makes sense now.
That's it. Yeah. He resands all over her. Okay, so Anck-su-namun and his High Priest of Death, ? What a title, are in very taboo love. And it's a secret.
But not a very good secret. They're not doing a good job of he just sort of strides into a room hey, what's up, girl?
Thank you. Not to mention they've got 30 eunuchs in their fuck room. What are you guys doing?
I'm like, if you're gonna smudge her up, we're gonna go with the shoulder, that's your move.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, go straight for the inner thigh, dude. Let's be smart about this.
I have to believe that it was intentional. They were today's the day we murder up the pharaoh, so this is what we're gonna do. So otherwise they're just dummies, and I can't stand for it. So it was intentional.
I refuse to as well. I support that. Yeah. So the pharaoh catches them together. She tries to cuddle up to a statue of a cat to be like, "I'm just here being myself. It's totally cool."
But also does it with the arm that's not marred. It was definitely intentional. She was hiding that knife somewhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah, where did she get that knife? I have other questions about secret pockknots later on that we'll get to.
I was going to say that's definitely a theme in this movie of people pulling out weapons from places. Who knows?
Who knows? So the pharaoh's like, "Who's been touching on you?" And Imhotep comes up behind him and he's like, "Imhotep, my priest?" And then Imhotep has the audacity to pull the pharaoh's sword.
He's got swagger. He's got so much.
He really does.
And then Anck-su-namun just stabs him in the back with so much relish. Just
yes. Well, and then when his guards show up in their very serious swagger as well.
Yes.
And they've got some impressive scowls on their faces. she sends him away because she's like, you're my high priest bae of death, and so you can bring me back to life. So you need to fuck off right now.
And she doesn't even hesitate. Like, no doubt. She's like, I know you're going to bring me back. Like, I trust you. Oh. Do the thing.
Oh, they really, truly are a power couple.
Yeah.
And so then she turns around to the guards, and feminist icon that she is, she says, my body is no longer his temple. And then she takes herself out with her own sword.
Yep. Ugh.
It is such a badass move. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, wow, lady, that is quite the statement.
Well, and then like Imhotep steals her body and rides off into the desert to, oh crud, of course I didn't write down the name
Hamunaptra.
Yeah, thank you, Hamunaptra.
No worries.
Yes. And takes her down into, like starts the whole process, but his swagger's a little too strong because he takes too long, and so while her like spirit comes out and like goes into her body and he's about to like finish the ritual, and then Pharaoh's bodyguards that minute to like interrupt him. And I have questions about this curse because it seems like the most badass thing you could do to somebody, and they're like, it's so terrible. And I'm like, if you're giving him power and making him immortal if he comes back, like this seems like a good thing. Like,
absolutely. You should just be like chopping him up in teeny tiny pieces, spreading them to the four corners of the wind, and never talking about him again.
Right. But no.
That would be a much worse thing for, I mean, let's face it, an egomaniac like Imhotep.
Yes. Yes. And so, but no, we're going to curse him with like the scariest curse that's ever been scary. And nobody's ever done it before because they're so scared of it, but they're going to do it to this really powerful dude who can already raise people from the dead as a human. It's legit. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But they like throw him in like the sarcophagus like alive and put in the bugs, which the bug usage in this movie is incredibly inconsistent, but that's okay.
The scarabs, oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, inconsistent but effective.
Oh,
I'll tell you that much.
I was terrified of those
Same.
for years. And so then they like tomb him up and throw him in, and then like time passes, like a whole bunch of time passes. And now we're still in Hamunaptra, but I was confused because I was like, nobody knows about this city, but there are a lot of people in this city, like all the time. Yeah. So, but Brendan Fraser's there. Sexy Rick O'Connell. Just pulling weapons out of who knows where. It doesn't matter because
nobody cares. He's got him though. And he is a leader. He is a born leader, and he doesn't want to be, and that's the sexiest kind.
Yes. And he's there. Who knows? It doesn't matter. He's there for the city.
We have no idea.
No.
There is no explanation. We don't know who they're fighting. I do know that they're legionnaires, but only because of the closed captioning and because of the French. That's literally it. Oh, yeah. Brendan Fraser speaks French, and it did it for me. And then, so he's there with Benny the Coward.
Their relationship pleases
I love
me.
Them.
So it's such a delightful comedic beat throughout this movie. Because Benny is such a coward and is always running away, and Brendan Fraser is even constantly trying to save him from himself, even as he's like throwing him out of things.
He is. Yeah. He's a really nice foil to Brendan Fraser because it shows you, as much as the Brendan Fraser character can be a bit of an ass. Yeah. Benny allows him to show how noble and caring he is, even to the worst of us.
Yes. Well, and they're like running because the lines break, and so Benny runs into the pyramid or whatever. Yeah. It's not a pyramid, but like through the door. And Brendan Fraser's like running, like, hold the door, and Benny's like, no, don't think so. And so then Brendan Fraser's running through like the ruins and
action,
pulling guns, bang, 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 throwing guns, pulling more guns.
Somersault.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden the people chasing him, their horses get super scared and like they just run away.
Yeah, he's standing in front of this, oh God, who was it? It was the statue of Anubis, probably.
Yes, probably.
And Brendan Fraser's like cringing, he's ready to die. But then the entire cavalry that's in front of him gets really scared and they run away. And so he's like, what is this? And then there's a whoosh and a you will die that happens. And he's like turning around trying to figure out where it's coming from. And then the sand does a windy sand sculpture of a screaming face in the ground, and it is a lot, you guys.
But it's so funny while he's running through it, because he's not running in like a linear fashion to like get away from it, because it's going back and forth like the fountain in front of that hotel in Vegas.
Yeah, Bellagio.
Yes, thank you. And so, but it's not like he could just literally walk 6 feet and be out of it, but no, he's running back and forth as the sand like comes at him, and then it was so great.
So then he's running away from Hamunaptra because everybody is. He's on foot because everybody fucked off.
Apparently all his people are dead, it seems like.
Yeah, and the Magi, these...
Sexy Magi.
Oh, God, these such a sexiness.
Face tattoos, I'm into it. I didn't know I was into it, but I am.
I think this is why I'm into face tattoos. I mean... I think this movie is it.
Yes.
So they're like up on this cliff somewhere, because there are cliffs in this desert. And they're like, should we go kill him? And the leader of the Magi, his name is Ardeth, I think. And he's like, no, the desert will kill him.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't.
It doesn't, you guys. He's too sexy to be killed by the desert. The desert's not going to do that to us.
No.
So, also, did you clock the swanky face coverings that were on their horses?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's like almost like a salsa dancer's skirt all over their faces, and I liked it.
I know. I'm like, I'm super into everything like connected to the Magi. Like, I'm all about it.
Yeah,
they're descendants from Pharaoh's bodyguards.
They are. Yeah,
I feel like yes. Yeah,
and in a movie where there is a dearth of local people or Middle Eastern actors, the leader of the Magi represents one of, I think, 2 men who is a man of color. He's Israeli and he's super foxy. So anyway,
yeah, this movie is definitely lily white.
Oh yeah, and like fake tanned so that they don't look lily white. It's not great.
Yeah, because the guy who plays Imhotep was in like G.I. Joe or some shit like later on, and I think that's the first time I'd seen him since this movie, and I'm like, he's super white.
Yeah,
like I had no idea.
I didn't realize. Yeah. He's not Egyptian.
Yes.
What's going on?
Yeah, right. I feel so betrayed.
Hollywood. I know.
Yeah, right.
I know. All right. So 3 years later,
yes,
our sweet hot smarty Evelyn is in a giant library, and I gotta tell you guys, she's doing a big melody right now. Michael tells me that my basic motto in life is, what could go wrong? And she's up on this like 20-foot ladder against a giant bookshelf. She's in the S's, and there's a book that is a T, and she's adorable about it. She's like, oh, what are you doing here, book? I'm gonna put you back where you belong.
Adjust my glasses while I do.
Oh God, she's so cute.
She is.
So instead of climbing down and moving the ladder like a sane person, she pulls a big melody and she tries to lean from one shelf to another, and chaos ensues.
She almost recovers. Like she almost has it down.
Her.
And she's like, fine, I'm fine. You could see her being like, it's okay, it'll be fine. And she's just like, help me, all quiet. And then she loses her balance and tips over the bookshelf. And of course, they're in a circle. So like all the bookshelves come down, like every single one of them.
So it's a big domino effect.
Big mess.
Yeah. And then she defends herself in a really great way. And I feel like you want to talk about this. Are my instincts correct?
Yes. Her boss comes out and he's just like, oh my God, like the plagues of Egypt, like listing like several of them, and like they were all nothing compared to you, and why do I put up with you? And she's like, excuse me, like let me list my qualifications.
That's right.
And it's just like she like has no hesitance. She's like, I'm super qualified. I'm more qualified than most of these people, and like she like speaks Egyptian and like translates a bunch of stuff and like has all these studies that she's done and is very, very book smart. And then he, of course, being like that dude, comes back with like, I put up with you because your parents like donated money or whatever. Like, we're big deals, very big deals. And so then he, puts her down, is like, pick up everything. Don't care how long it takes, like whatever. And she immediately gets distracted by a sound and like wanders into this like
wait. Sorry, before you go any further, I do have to say I have to read you my note because I don't know if it's something that I saw like a mirage or not. But my note is what she says is something like, because I can read and write ancient Egyptian and I'm worth my weight in gold and I have a sneaky hot tattoo behind my ear. And I don't know if that exists or if it was like a hair curl or what, but I was like, I think she has a tattoo behind her ear, and I wanted more of that content. No?
I mean, I believe it. I'm 100%. I
don't
feel like
know.
But I'm also not the most. When we watch movies, like my husband and I, he picks up all these like, oh, that person like definitely like was supposed to be dead and was blinking, and I never notice any of that stuff. So she very well could have a neck tattoo, and I'd be like, oh, it seems legit. Don't know. So,
fair enough. All right, so carry on.
Okay, so she like it's like a museum type room. It seems like there's a lot of stuff set up.
It's like a creepy crypt. It's neat.
It's not very well lit. And,
no.
And she walks up to like an open like sarcophagus type thing, and like naturally like a mummy pops up, and this mummy, despite being super like desiccated, is holding together very well. And
it is.
And it's her brother who is in the sarcophagus with the mummy for reasons unknown. Drunk. I mean, when I get drunk, I don't want to hang out with dead people, but like whatever. I don't judge Jonathan.
You do you, man.
Yeah. And so she's just like, Jonathan. And he's her brother who he's, that underachiever type, except he's really good at stuff.
He's an affable buffoon.
Yeah. Like, but, he
but
steals
also
stuff.
Fairly competent.
Yeah. Like, he's really good at picking pockets. He can also read ancient Egyptian, apparently.
Yes. Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, better than
a little bit.
You would expect him to.
Certainly better than me.
Yeah, me too. So he's like, I found this thing on a dig in like somewhere that definitely sounds legit, and gives it to her, and he's like, tell me I found something. And so she just immediately is so superior in every way that she like touches it and it just pops open. And it's and it has like a map inside.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you've definitely found something this time. And so they take it to her boss.
The curator.
Yes. Which, he doesn't have the most confidence in her. And it appears to be a map to Hamunaptra. And so they start talking about like the legends involved and like how all the pharaohs kept like all their treasure there. And there's the gold.
It's a lot of really well done exposition.
Yes.
Yeah.
And back and forth, because Jonathan, her brother, knows his treasure. So
yeah, he does. He's a treasure hound.
Oh, he is. But I love him so much. And while they're getting all excited and like super into it, the curator's reading it, and oops, it's on fire.
Yeah. At first, he's like, "Okay, guys, this is probably nothing. Like, nowhere. I don't know. I gotta hold it up to this flame in order to read it better. Oopsie
very
doopsie.
Slowly, and just oops." Burned off the part on how to get to Hamunaptra.
Yeah, and then he says, probably for the best.
Yeah.
Okay, dude.
Yeah, he's so just like, meh, it's fine. Go away.
Yeah.
So come to find out, her brother did not, in fact, find this on a dig. He stole this from a dude who happens to be, what we find out, Rick O'Connell. So
yeah, shocking.
Right? It all comes together. And so he takes her to the, like, prison, I guess?
Yeah, it's a prison. And they meet up with the warden.
Yes.
And the warden is like, let me give you a tour. I can't wait to show you all the sights of my beautiful prison.
And it's literally like a courtyard with like open-faced cells all around it that they're just loud and dirty, angry prisoners. Mm-hmm. And Evie is totally unfazed. She's like, yeah, cool. Like, show me this person. Like, I wanted to have these answers.
So he comes out and he's supposed to be run down and bedraggled and like a bad boy, but let me assure you, Brendan Fraser is just as, if not hotter than ever, with his long hair.
He has like George of the Jungle vibes in this scene.
He does.
It's just slightly dirtier than George of the Jungle, but like the long hair, like he's all, they haul him into this cell so he can talk to them, and he's just Brendan Fraser. Like he's
peak. A beautiful asshole right now. He's like. They're like, oh, so we found your pretty little puzzle box. And he's like, no, that's not what you're here for. You're here to ask me about Hamunaptra. Yes, I've been there. Yeah, I know how to get there. Oh, and then he punches the brother because he realizes that he's the one that pickpocketed him.
And Evie just steps over her down brother without hesitation. Yeah. She's like, puts her hat up and she's like,
she's so ambitious.
Oh, and like unapologetically ambitious. Like, yes, don't care. Tell me about Hamunaptra. And he's like, come closer. Yeah. And she's like, okay. And then he just like grabs her chin and like kisses her.
And he kisses her.
Oh! Just like lays one on her. And she's just like, oh my goodness. Like you can just see the look on her face like, what? And then he's dragged off.
Yeah, and they're like, we're going to go hang you now.
Yeah.
So she's trying to get the warden to not hang him. And she's like, I'll give you 100 pounds. I'll give you 300 pounds. I'll give you 500 pounds. And he's like, will you throw in that pussy? Because I am a lonely man. And she's like, get your hands off of me. That's ridiculous.
Just slaps his hand.
Yeah. So he tells everybody to hang Brendan Fraser. And luckily his neck doesn't snap. Huzzah. And so by the time Brendan Fraser's like close to dead, she has told the warden that not only do they know where Hymenoptera is, but they'll cut him in for a negotiated amount, which is adorable because she is so like cool under pressure right now.
Like he's choking to death and she's like, no, you can't have that much %. You can have less.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. Oh, it's so good. And so then, oh man, and Katee, when they cut him down and she stands up and does that like imperious look at him with the self-satisfied smirk and the hint of an eyebrow raise, yes. I was just on my knees in front of her, like whatever you want.
She is so capable. Like
she is.
I laugh because I watched this movie in my formative years and somehow had no idea I was bisexual. Like, no, like come on, everybody.
Katee.
But yeah, so then they flash to, they are boarding they're on the docks getting ready to get on this like riverboat type thing. And she's all worked up, like super worked up. Like,
she's like, I hate him, and he's a filthy, rude scoundrel, and I can't believe that we have to work with him. And he comes up and he's like, filthy, rude scoundrel, anybody that I know? And she turns around.
And he's just cleaned up and a haircut, and she identifies him as a sexy man.
Oh, boy, does she. She sort of like stutters over her words and then tries to like level with him, and all the while, she knows he is so sexy.
I love that Jonathan's giving her shit. Like, terrible. So terrible. She's like, shut up, Jonathan.
Shut up, Jonathan. It's just like a tiny crush. It's no worries.
Well, and they have such a genuine type, like, sibling relationship that there's like that ribbing and like genuine affection and, love it.
It is really sweet. So then they get on this boat. And the prison guard is there. The warden. I said prison guard, but he is the warden. Oh, and also he's the other man of color. He's Persian. So really glad and he actually speaks Arabic, which is, nice.
Even if he is like the worst, like.
Oh, but he's so funny. He's also a really, really funny comedian in real life. But yeah. Anyway, so they get on the boat and we see that the Magi are stalking the boat. And so we come across this gaggle of American cowboys.
Who are the most American.
Oh, yeah.
Like.
Oh, yeah.
Just the most, throughout this movie, the most American. Like, just, like.
In every way. After the shipwreck, they're like, this is a stupid country. As if it's the entire country's fault that their boat went down.
And they're just obnoxious and, like, totally, like, not respectful of any cultural belief that isn't theirs. And it's just like the epitome of like the shitty American is these dudes. I mean, they seem like decent dudes. They're just shitty Americans.
Yeah, completely. They can't see past their own assholes.
No.
So they bet O'Connell 500 bones that they'll get to the city first. And
this is how we find out, like, because Jonathan was playing cards with them, and O'Connell's like, how do you know that we're going to Hymenoptera? And Jonathan's been running his mouth, and they're just like, yeah, like, we know, because, like, we have a guide who's actually been there, and O'Connell, like, does the shoulder grab on Jonathan before he can, like, spill the beans on that, too.
Okay, so then she's sitting on the deck, and she's reading, like, the beautiful Ravenclaw that she is. And then he comes over and he throws his weapons on the table.
Just unrolls
like the hot Gryffindor he is.
Yes.
Do you agree?
100%. 100%.
Okay. Thank goodness. I was going to have to fight you.
Well, that whole interaction, like, he's cleaning his weapons and she's, like, picking them up and, like, examining them. Like, what does this blade that's curved really interestingly do? And he's just, like, plucking it out of her fingers, and it's so delightful.
Yeah, and let's just quick control save in your mind. This bag is full of guns and knives and heavy metals and a bunch of things like that. Okay, just remember that, listener. You just remember that. So they talk about what she's excited to find when they're at Hymenoptera. She's like, this could be the peak of a life's goal of mine.
But he's so knowledgeable too, because he's like, oh, so the golden book doesn't interest you at all? And she's like,
she's like, oh, you know your history, and she's like super wet about it.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, no, I know my treasure. And then I was super wet about it. So, you know.
Well, and then she's like working up her courage, and like this is like one of the first times she's been like actually not fully confident in this movie. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, why did you kiss me? Yeah. And he's just like, you know, cannot read a room to save his life.
No. Sweet Gryffindor.
Yeah, true. He's like, I was about to die. It seemed like a good idea at the time, which of course is not the answer she's looking for. And so she storms off because she's just like, I'd never.
Yeah, and she's like, harumph, I'm going to take my book and go. Thank you very much.
But not too far, because I'm going to pet some camels. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the exit was slightly marred by her hanging out to pet camels.
It did allow her to leave in a huff again, though, which I didn't mind.
That's true.
So then he comes across Benny, and he's like, Benny, what the fuck are you doing here? And Benny's like, well, I would just leave them out in the desert because I'm guiding them, but they only paid me half, so I'm going to guide them out there, and then I'm going to stupidly guide them back. It's very funny. So he tosses him over the side.
Like, he's without hesitation, he's like, like a hand on his shoulder, like, yep, tell me more. Okay. And then he's like, bye, Benny, and just tosses him off the side of the riverboat.
It is so wonderful. And that's when he notices that there are wet footprints on the deck, which starts one of the best action sequences in this movie.
What I love that his first thing that he did was go to her.
Yeah.
So like we cut to her and she's in her like dressing gown type thing and like combing her hair and like reading a book and very absent-mindedly.
She's absent-minded because she's thinking about that kiss still, you guys. And I don't blame her.
I don't, but I'm like, Evie, there's so much better kisses coming in your future. Like just hang on for it.
That's true.
And so she drops her hairbrush and it's just like, and like goes down to pick it up and she's in front of a mirror. So when she comes back up, there's a magi behind her, like a masked man. And
also his name is Hook.
Oh, yes.
He is referred to only as Hook in the movie, which I find wonderful.
Well, he has a very scary hook and he's like menacing her with it and
he does.
Like, demands the key and she's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What key? Right. Like, get out of my room. And O'Connell bursts in all dramatically and just bang, 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 bang. And in the fight.
Okay, so then he goes bang, bang, bang. There's another guy that comes out and he bangs him too. And then she grabs a candlestick because she is never not competent. And she puts it back into Hook's eye.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Really gets banged up in this fight.
And it's actually really messed up if you think about it because the Magi are just trying to keep Imhotep like dead. Yeah, like they're but you know
they're
what?
just trying to protect you, stupid kids.
Yeah, I know. Come on, guys. Knock it off. Like,
yeah. They
probably would have taken the key and left. Like
absolutely. You never would have seen the puff of smoke. They'd be gone. Yeah. So he grabs her and they leave and he's like reloading his guns while they walk. Yes. Sorry. Important. There is a big fire that gets started.
Very dramatic.
And so they start going away. And then the Hook, the Magi, is like, I'm going to go grab the key that he sees on the ground. Then as he bends over to pick up the key, her brother bursts in.
Oh, and point of clarification, the key is the thing that her brother found, like the puzzle box that her brother found is the key. So that's what they've been hauling with them. But yes, carry on.
Yeah. So Jonathan accidentally pushes this civil servant into a flaming couch.
Oops.
And so he's now on fire, but
I don't think Jonathan even like notices. He's just like, I got the key. Woo!
Well, he doesn't get the key though. Because Hook hooks the key and then Jonathan leaves because he's a smart coward. And so he leaves and then it cuts to somebody else. They're like setting the hay on fire and then other people are running around. Oh, Brendan Fraser throws her over the side. Which I love. She's in her nightgown. Oh, but first,
he's, coming out and like he's reloading one of his many guns, and the enemies are shooting, and it's like going down the arrow, or not the arrow, God,
the wall.
The wall. Yeah, and she's watching it go, and like jerks him to the side, and like a bullet hits right where his head would have been, and he just kind of goes, "Ooh!" Like, I love it. They save each other so much.
Yeah, they're so wonderful. So then he tosses her over the side and he's like, you need to swim to shore.
And he does make sure she can swim before he does. He does check in.
He does. He's ever the gentleman. And so then the Americans are like, shoot him up, bang, bang, a bunch of people. He has to fight off another Magi, and then the warden is like, what do I do? And he's like, stay here. I'm going to go get help.
He's such an asshole. Like,
he is.
Just stay on this burning boat. It'll be fine. And then he just jumps off.
Okay, and this is the shot that I needed you to remember, listener, because remember that 65-pound bag full of weapons and medals? It floats. Magically, it just floats.
You know,
I liked it.
Physics don't necessarily.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. But I did find it hilarious. So the warden gets over the side, and then only the Americans and Jonathan are still on the boat. And the flaming hook comes out.
He's survived so long while on fire.
He really, really has. You'd think that the smoke inhalation would have gotten him already, but he's too much of a badass.
He's just trying to do his duty.
He is this poor, poor public servant. And so then the Americans shoot him, and just as he's about to go over the side, Jonathan pickpockets him, and he gets the key, and he's very, very satisfied with himself. And then there's an explosion! And so
Jonathan
everybody
goes
abandons ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then they're wading onto shores, and on opposite shores, like the Americans and Benny on one side, and like Rick and Evie and Jonathan and them are on the other, and Benny, of course, being Benny, is like, we have all the horses. And Rick's like, you're on the wrong side of the river, which is my favorite. And Benny's just like,
it's one of my favorite uttered, Brendan Fraser uttered lines, like, ever. Yes. Like, just his inflection and the way that he delivers it is just perfect.
Well, and he's obviously got so much, like, joy out of that moment of like, haha, motherfucker. Like,
yeah.
They're so petty, and it makes me happy.
Same. So then they have to go to a mercantile to get some trusty steeds, and she also has no clothes. She's running around. Oh, how does she get on to that riverbank without full nipple action?
You know, I wondered about that.
In her tiny, gauzy...
It should have been full body action, because it's like white.
Yeah.
But nope, that stuff is made of very stern,
very thick wool.
Yeah.
Apparently. That wool you wear in the desert.
Definitely.
It was just, no, you know what? It was a personal slight to me. That's what that was.
I was thinking about that as she climbed out of the river, like soaking wet. I'm like, here we go. And it's like, no, we do not go.
Gosh, darn it. Okay, so then they buy some camels, and she gets some local clothes. And Brendan Fraser says, I bet we could have gotten those camels for free if only we had given them your sister. And Jonathan's like, yeah, it's super tempting, huh? But then she comes out of the crowd wearing this little black number with this really sexy face veil and like some
eyeliner
kohl around her eyes. Oh,
and this is like the first time that he's like fully like shell shock seeing her. Like, oh, damn, girl. Like, you clean up nice.
He sees her as a different being. She was cute beforehand, but now she is a veritable sex object.
When he goes a little, like stupid.
He goes gooey.
He does, because he just, like, doesn't know what to do with his hands, and, like, he just, oh, my God. Like, love it. So
it's really nice.
Yeah.
So then there's this really pretty camel riding montage. Everybody falls asleep on their camels except for super competent Brendan Fraser, Rick. And the Magi are watching ominously because they are always watching.
Which, again, if they are such awesome public servants and, like, they were willing to, like, sneak on a riverboat and, like, do their duty, like, why not pick out these 4 lonesome people that they could probably dispatch rather quickly, even with Rick
easily,
like
super easily, yeah.
But no, they just let them do the thing. They decide to wait now, I guess.
Yeah, they're just letting them get to Hamunaptra. That's what they're gonna do. They're like, what could go wrong? Now they're pulling a melody. Okay. Oh, and it also gives the head Magi the opportunity to say, "This one is strong," and I didn't hate it. So now, the 2 groups meet up, and they're both waiting for some kind of sign. I have a question for you real quick, because Benny says to O'Connell, he's like, hey, Rick, nice camel. But then I noticed that Benny is also riding a camel. What is this shade? What's happening?
I don't know. I feel like he didn't know what to say, and so he's just like, nice pants. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's it. I was like, Benny, look at your animal right now.
And
what
your
are you doing?
camel is not, and maybe it was legitimate, like, nice camel. Yours is way better than mine. Like, who knows with Benny? But what I don't understand is, so they're like waiting for like the sunrise to like reveal Hamanatra, which is very dramatic and like beautiful and like whatever, and like starts like a race of sorts, but it was always there. And so I don't know why they had to wait for it.
Yeah, like mystical desert tricks. I don't know. I don't know much about the desert or desert-specific mysticism, so I really can't comment on it, but it is a little confusing.
Yeah, I'm like, this place is really hard to find, but apparently not. It's fine. We don't have to question it. We'll just roll with it.
So they are sprinting now, and Benny tries to whack O'Connell off of his camel, and then O'Connell throws him off of his camel. It's wonderful.
It's their love language. It's good.
It is. And then Evie comes out of nowhere, just out of the mist.
Well, she's like having fun, and then her camel's like, "Oh, we're doing this," and like picks up the speed and was like he got his competitive spirit going or something, and just takes off. And she's like, "Oh shit!" And
it's so good. And so she wins.
Yes, and
she wins.
And Rick's just looking at her like, that's my girl.
Yeah, he really is. He's got heart eyes right now.
He does.
Okay, so the work starts.
Yes.
And the Americans have this Brit who
He's an Egyptologist.
Yeah, I refer to him all throughout my notes as, stupid colonizing misogynist.
That's the one.
Because he is setting them up to like start digging and stuff. And the rest of the guys are like, hey, what is the other group doing way, way far away? And he's like, well, they're led by a woman, and what do women know?
A lot more than you, motherfucker.
A lot more.
Well, and this is like one of my favorite interchanges with, well, I say this with everything. This movie's my favorite. It's fine.
Yeah.
So they're like poking around this statue, and like she's got these mirrors, and like Rick's like, hey, what's up? Hey, I got this for you. And like, just like kind of thrusts it at her, like super awkwardly. And it's like archaeologist tools and stuff that he totally stole from the Americans, like, and she's totally fine with it, like, cool, sounds good.
Yeah, he gets her this archaeological nerd kit,
but his hands are just like he's so like does not know what to do with his hands.
Yeah, he's like shaking, and his opening line for this was like, hey, what's up with that old mirror? And without missing a beat, she's like, ancient mirror. And he's like, oh yeah, well,
he like gets like 10 points dumber like in this scene. Like he's so capable every other time, but he's just like, oh well, I thought this might be useful.
Yes. Oh, and she loves it.
She does. She eats it up.
HBs, J.R. Ward's 18th installment of the Black Dagger Brotherhood is out now. The Sinner is just waiting for you to sink your teeth into. Here's the description. Sin has kept his side hustle as a mercenary a secret from the Black Dagger Brotherhood. When he takes another hit job, he not only crosses the path of the vampire race's new enemy, but also that of a half-breed in danger of dying during her transition. Jo Early has no idea what her true nature is, and when a mysterious man appears out of the darkness, she's torn between their erotic connection and the sense that something is very wrong. Fate anointed Butch O'Neill as the Destroyer, the fulfiller of the prophecy that foresees the end of the Omega. As the war with the Lessening Society comes to a head, Butch gets an unexpected ally in Sin. But can he trust the male? Or is the warrior with the bad past a deadly complication? With time running out, Jo gets swept up in the fighting and must join with Sin and the Brotherhood against true evil. In the end, will love true prevail? Or was the prophecy wrong all along? One reviewer said, J.R. Ward has a way with words that keeps me on the edge of my seat. And Harlequin Junkie raved, mind blown. The Sinner was a high-octane novel that answered a lot of questions and saw some things finally come full circle. Romance, deceit, power games, and friendship. J.R. Ward pulled out all the stops in this thrilling installment. I'm including buy links in the show notes, so make sure to check out The Sinner today. And so then they belay down into a pit of some sort because they are at the base of Anubis or Ra. It doesn't matter.
It's Anubis because they end up down even below Anubis, like as time goes on.
Yeah. So the warden Gad is like, make sure to look out for bugs. I don't like bugs. And my note is, oh God, foreshadowing.
Well, they're immediately teasing him about bugs. Like, immediately. Yeah. They don't even hesitate.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the correct response. Because they hear like a skitter. And,
yeah.
So then they go through this mummification prep room. And then they meet up at the base of Anubis with the other stupid crew. And
guns. Many guns.
They immediately pull guns. Yeah. And Evie, then, as the boys are bickering, like boys will, she decides to be the smart person in the room, and she realizes that there's a chamber underneath even that. And since what they're going for is going to be in the base of the statue, her whole thing is, we don't have to fight with these idiots over it. We can just go from beneath.
And Rick immediately follows her lead. Okay, sounds good. Like, doesn't hesitate, does not question.
This is one of the sexiest moments because he goes from I'm going to defend this ground until I die to just her making meaningful eye contact with him, and he lowers his weapon and he's like, all right, well, I'm listening to my girl over here, so
yeah, she knows her shit. I'm into it. I follow her lead. She knows more than me. I'm into it.
God, it's so hot.
Oh, it is. It like just so good. So then the Americans remain the worst. They have diggers with them. Like, they have a whole crew. And so there have these poor diggers who are just trying to get their paycheck.
These local guys who just, like, picked up some extra work. And the stupid colonizing misogynist is like, hey, important white people, you should take several steps back. We need to put the local diggers in there just in case of booby traps.
Making minimum wage.
Yeah, like maybe not even. Jeez.
Oh,
they're just trying to feed their families. Your lives are not worth more than theirs, you stupid colonizing misogynist. Anyway, so they get melted with, what is it? Like
poison.
Salicylic acid, salt-based acid. It's an acid, you guys. It's an ancient
There's salt involved too, so acid. Salty acid.
Yeah. So that happens.
Yes. And so then we're down in the base of the room that Evie discovered, and Evie's talking about mummification, and I love how excited she is to talk about, like, scrambling brains, and Rick's kind of like, I'm sort of into it, I think.
Yeah, he's trying.
He is. And she's just, like, super, like, in her mode. Like, she's like, I know about this stuff, and it's so awesome, and I'm really, like, geeking out. And her brother is, like, playing golf with a golf club.
With rocks.
Yeah. And, like I don't understand how him playing golf makes the sarcophagus fall, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No.
So
it absolutely doesn't.
So like the sarcophagus falls, and Evie just realizes that like the key is the key, which might not have realized if the Magi hadn't told her it was the key, but it's fine. They're trying real hard. And so they immediately open it because of course they do, and the mummy is like juicy, and they talk a lot about the bugs, and like realize that he went into it like alive and like scratched out words.
Yeah, there's like scratch marks all over it.
And died really terribly.
Well, and meanwhile, as this is also happening, the warden has just gone exploring. And he finds some like scarab art on the walls as the bugs. And so he takes the bug off the wall, and then he drops it on the ground, and somehow this makes a petrified scarab come out of its blue gold coating, and it tunnels into his foot. We watch it in all of its 1999 CGI glory. Burrow all the way up through his body and into his brain, and then eat him from the inside. And he dies like running, and he runs headfirst into a wall because of the pain.
In the room where the rest of them are, and it does not even faze them. Like,
yeah, they're just like, wonder what happened to him.
I guess we don't have to split it with him now. Like, we get our cut. Like,
yeah,
and then they immediately pillage his belongings. Like,
oh, I didn't notice that. I must have been taking notes at that point.
They when they're sitting around the bonfire, or like not the bonfire, but the fire, And Jonathan's going through that bag. That's his bag. And he's like, oh, our friend had good taste in, like,
oh my God,
bourbon or whatever.
That's right. Oh my God.
Don't even hesitate.
Now the boys are ruminating on whether or not this place is cursed.
Oh, wait, but before they're drunk, the Magi attack.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, well, because they're wondering if it's cursed, and Brendan Fraser's line this whole time is like, there is an evil here. So I don't know why he's like wondering now. And she's like, the supernatural doesn't exist. And then the Magi attack. And then Evie, like, picks up a shotgun and murders a guy in the face.
She does, but then she falls over and just apparently stays falling over through the rest of the fight. But it's okay. She got one guy.
Yeah, she does a tiny collapse, and we don't really know why.
Which I didn't even realize till he picks her up at the end of it. And I'm like, oh, that was her the whole time. Like, that's good. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, so Rick stops it because he's about to get into a sword fight with our favorite leader, Magi.
Whose face mask, like, mysteriously veil thing gets taken off so we can see him in all his glory. Like, it's important that we see his face.
In all of his beautiful, chiseled, tattooed glory. Mm-hmm. And so Rick lights up a stick of dynamite inexplicably and fights over. Magi's like, we're done here. Just, you need to leave in the next 24 hours or else, ?
I mean, unless you have more dynamite, because apparently that is a legitimate threat. It seems... It was very dramatic, but also super, maybe not logical,
Let's be real, though. His actual threat is leave or die. And so, in any situation, I feel like that's pretty accurate. Yeah, whether or not you wake up the worldwide plague that's a possibility, you're going to die. So... why don't you just stop?
Yeah, be reasonable.
Yeah.
Silly Magi. You think these idiots are going to be reasonable? Even the lovable ones.
Are you kidding? So now we have one of the most important things about the movie, and definitely the most important thing about this scene.
Yes.
And that is Rick turning around and seeing Evie on the ground.
Oh, yeah. And he just, like, pulls her up and has her in his arms and... oh my God.
And then he does a take her by the chin.
Yes.
And he does a check her over and then a hold her by his side. And he's like real like casually concerned about her in like a very I've got it handled sexy kind of way. And it's real nice. Good.
So good.
And then Evie gets drunk because what else are you supposed to do after you murder a guy in the face?
I mean, Rick was just taking care of her and making sure she's processing her trauma and like feeding her alcohol. And but she also doesn't seem super bothered by the murder either. Like she's more like she has that awesome line of like, what is a place like me doing in a girl like this?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But they're just super cute.
Oh, so her exact line, he's like, I don't understand. I understand your brother. I know that he's an affable buffoon. I understand your explorer father. And I understand your Egyptian mother. I get all of that. But I don't understand what you're doing here. And she gets all drunk and huffy. And she's like, I know I'm not an explorer or an adventurer or a treasure seeker or a gunfighter, Mr. O'Connell, but I am proud of what I am.
And he's like, and what's that?
And she goes, I am a librarian.
Yeah, you are, Evie. Yeah, you are.
Yeah, girl. And then she goes, and I'm going to kiss you now, Mr. O'Connell.
And he's just like, okay. Like, I'm
alright
with it.
Call me Rick. And then he puckers up.
Well, because then she's like leaning in, and then she just passes out drunk in his lap. And he just
perfect.
Like air kisses, like mwah, like I guess.
And he's just like, well, this is my luck, but like maybe next time.
When also O'Connell, like you're Rick. It's better this way. It's better that you're not making out with a probably blackout drunk Evie. Like let's just
absolutely
keep your hero untarnished.
Indeed, Katie. Yeah. So then the next morning, the Americans get a book out of the base of the statue of Anubis. It is a black book. It is not a gold book.
But before the book, the chest, they find the book is in a chest, and the chest, if you open this chest, you will be cursed. Like anyone, present when the opening of this chest will like have really terrible things happen to them.
It's serious too, because they're like, the creature that gets back from the dead will chew up your insides and suck your juices dry.
And it was serious because the whole room went, ooh. woo.
Yeah. Yeah, that desert mysticism. Yep.
Yes.
That happened. So
Benny runs away.
Yeah, and so Benny's like, I don't do curses. And he runs away. They open it, and it's the Book of the Dead. So then, our crew.
But also in there is because the
Americans want treasure.
Yes, and the Egyptologist dude is like, oh my god, the Book of the Dead, woo! And the Americans are like, what's a stupid book?
Mm-hmm.
And so they find these containers, which we know because of seen in the beginning of the movie, they are the container of Anck-su-namun's organs, or maybe
all of her organs.
Yes, her organs. So each of the 4 Americans takes one, and the 5th one was broken, so it's left. And so they got their treasure. Yeah. So then,
our crew is down in the below room, and they open up the sarcophagus, and this is where they find this 3,000-year-old juicy corpse.
Yeah. So
and
he
nail
pops
marks.
out. He pops out of the.
Oh my gosh! In a way that imprinted on my being. That was Michael's other thing when I told him about the mummy. He was like, okay, well, good luck, because he knows I don't like scary stuff.
I know when I suggested, I'm like, is it too scary? Because I've seen it so many times that it doesn't scare me anymore, but I also can't watch it around my 4-year-old.
Yeah, fair. Well, I'm also not that big of a wimp, so, it wasn't really that big of a deal, but it was pretty funny because he was concerned about my well-being. And so then he's also the guy before he died, which is, your point about the inconsistent scarab usage throughout. Apparently these scarabs ate him very slowly, whereas every other scarab we encounter eats people in less than... Yeah. So he has carved into the sarcophagus, death is only the beginning.
Which is a running trend through this movie as well. Death is not the end.
Yeah. And so we learn that the Humdai victims will bring 10 plagues of Egypt. Oh my gosh, my next note is, because, the Egyptologist is trying to pry this book open.
With his bare fingers. He's not even using tools, the idiot.
Yeah, what a dummy. He's just like, and it's not working. So she sees that earlier. And then my next note is she gets the book from the Sleepy Misogynist. So I lied earlier when I said it was the stupid colonizing misogynist. It's not. It's the Sleepy Colonizing Misogynist.
And I loved this though, because thieving straight up runs in the family. Jonathan steals stuff all the time. Apparently Evie does too. She's just like, and I'm gonna take it. No hesitation.
Yeah, absolutely. So then she takes it and she brings it over, and O'Connell's like, that's thievery. And she's like, well, you and my brother would call it borrowing, so I will too. So here's my next thing. I'm really impressed, Evie, that you can read and write in ancient Egyptian. But if you're dealing with books that have to do with curses, why not translate them in your head and then say it out loud in English? Why not?
And also, what the heck, ancient Egyptians? You put the curse on the first page?
Yeah.
Well, you're not even going to bury the lead a little bit? Nope.
No, it's just right there. You're totally right. So she reads out
and he asks her what it says. He's like, what does it say? And instead of responding in English like a normal person, she reads the ancient Egyptian out loud.
Yeah, completely. As if O'Connell is doesn't matter. So right after she finishes the spell that wakes the juicy corpse beneath them.
It's 4 words. It's 4 words.
It is. All of them are there's no turn around 3 times. There's no go get this really tough to find ingredient. No. There's no draw me a fun picture in the sand. There's nothing. There's just 4 really easy words to say out loud.
Not even a human sacrifice to throw in for flavor. Nope. Just
where's my fun little human sacrifice? Thank you very much. What kind of death wizard are you?
Not a good one, apparently.
So she wakes up this juicy corpse, and at this moment, the Sleepy Misogynist wakes up and he shouts, "No! You must not read from the book!" And my entire household cackled. It was great. And then there's a wind whip, and this mummy animates downstairs.
And screams
and
immediately.
It gives a big snarl. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it looks like there's a big storm a-coming, but no, it's locusts, the first plague of Egypt. And then the sleepy misogynist snuggles up with the locusts.
He doesn't even make it in there, does he? Like, he just is outside the whole time. It's fine.
He just decides to have a little cuddle puddle with all these locusts, and he takes that opportunity to say, "What have we done?"
Like, this is the question that you ask when the poison gas comes pouring out, not, like, we're several steps beyond what have we done. Like,
yeah, completely.
But it drives them all inside. So they're all inside except for him. And which it's very dark and it's very scary and there's a lot of bugs involved.
Yeah. And so the American with the glasses falls down and loses them.
Immediately.
So he can't see anything.
And then Benny steps on him.
Yeah, because he's Benny.
Yes.
Yep.
And just leaves him to die. And so he's just like, help. Like, he's so like a helpless little babe. And, you know, and there's some really creative camera work. So every time he turns around, like, you see movement in the background. And, and my question is, like, the mummy teleports? I wrote that note.
He does. Gotta.
Apparently. He's just very fast. I don't know.
Yeah.
So apparently the mummy decided to, like, draw out some suspense. So, like, he gets close to him and the dude screams and then it cuts away.
Yeah.
And then you see Rick and Evie and them.
Yeah.
And, like, the bugs, like, they trigger something and, like, bugs come out. And so they all run. And they're running up this, like, ramp thing and, like...
Running.
Yeah, just very scary. And so Rick and Jonathan jump one way and Evie jumps another. And she's, like, pressed against the wall. And the wall has a trap door. So she swings away. And she's like, oh, good God. And
yeah.
so she sees the American, like, he's facing away the guy whose glasses were broke. And she's like, oh, thank goodness. Like, I'm not alone. And he turns around and his eyes are gone and his tongue's gone. Because apparently the mummy wanted to draw it out. It's cool.
Well, but also, like, why that guy's eyes?
Right.
It's, like, are they all of a sudden functioning eyes as soon as they get into that juicy corpse? Like, what?
Must be because he has regeneration purposes or, like, magic.
Okay.
So,
you know
like,
what? You're right.
I'm willing to roll with it.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's a good point. Like, he should be more discerning. He has 4 to choose from.
Yeah.
Or
five
to choose
don't
from.
choose the drunk sliver. Don't do that.
Yeah. Make better choices, Imhotep.
Yeah.
So as she's, like, approaching him, like, she turns and there's the mummy and in all that CGI glory. And
it's so good.
So she's, like, backing up and he looks at her and he's just like, Anoxuna Moon, and gets all, like, close and sort of...
Yeah, he wants to kiss up on her a little bit.
And it would be really sexy if he wasn't, like, a decaying corpse.
Yeah, I will say this. Right now, I was not into it. Okay? I have standards. Katie.
He has to be at least, like, 60% regenerated.
Yes. At least 60.
Yes.
I mean, you know, 62 maybe.
I mean, just give me the face. Like, give me the face if you're going to be kissing.
Yes.
Cover up the rest. It's fine.
Yeah.
And so as he's, like, getting close to her and, like, menacing her in a way that would be sexy if he wasn't, like, super dead, Rick somehow shows up and... It's just like, what are you doing? Like, let's get out of here. And, like, runs up to her and grabs her hands and then looks over and there's the mummy.
I love that he thinks that she's just, like, gotten stuck in the shoe section, you know? He's like, will you stop looking at those scarves? We've got places to go.
Right. Like, she's so capable in I just have to think that he was panicking. And so he's like, here she is. Like, he was so worried because he couldn't get through the trapdoor thing. And so apparently had to find his way to this room another route. Yeah. So, like, I'll allow it because he's, like, panicking.
Fair. So he shoots the mummy and they go away. And then they have this whole conversation with this group of magi. And they're like, oh, so you did the thing? You did the thing we asked you not to do? And they're like, nah, but we took care of it. Rick just shot him. And they're like, you stupid white people. That's not how that works.
And he's like, no, I got him. Like, he says, like, 4 times. Like, I got him. It's fine.
Yeah, I got him. I got, you know, that obviously... magical being totally took him out with 1 bullet. It's completely cool. So then the mummy finds Benny. And this honestly is one of my favorite scenes that's ever happened in a movie. I remember it. Like, this is the one scene in the movie that I remembered beat by beat. Because Benny starts taking out all of his religious icons on necklaces and, like, attempting to pray this mummy away from him.
When it's finally, such an indication of him because he, instead of worshiping one god, he just, like, he plays his odds. So he worships them all, I guess.
Absolutely. Or doesn't even worship them. He just pulls them out when they're convenient.
Yes.
He learns enough of the language to know the important prayer, and then it's just cultural appropriation.
Yeah,
okay, Benny?
Straight up.
That's all that is.
But it works out in this case, unfortunately.
It does. So he pulls out the Star of David and starts speaking Hebrew, and Imhotep is like, oh, you speak the language of the slaves. You're going to be useful. And now, this is where my question comes out, because where does he pull that gold from? Is it his decomposed anus, Katee?
I mean, I feel like that is where his hand approximate region was.
Yes, I think he's got a butt pocket where he kept all of that gold. Where did he keep it, Katee? Where did he get it from?
Also, I don't think they were burying him with the gold, initially, so he must have picked it up along the way in between, reanimating and finding these people.
Oh my gosh.
Priorities, Imhotep. Priorities.
Yeah.
But I did note that even Benny has some competence porn, because he also apparently speaks ancient Egyptian, because he can communicate.
He does.
Okay, yeah. I was like, were they speaking Hebrew? I don't know these languages, so... But
I
think they were...
Oh, I don't know. I thought No, because I don't think that Evie speaks Hebrew. I think she only speaks ancient Egyptian.
Right.
So later on in the movie where she corrects him, yeah.
Okay, but yeah, he speaks ancient Egyptian, like Benny. Way to overachieve for once in your life.
Yeah, good job. Good job, Benny. So Benny takes the job. He's like, I see the writing on the wall. I will definitely work for you. Oh, scary mummy. And everyone else escapes as fast as possible. They fuck off.
And they go off to Cairo.
And then we have the adorable unpacking scene, Katee.
And what is she even packing? It's so great because she's throwing stuff in a suitcase and Rick's going behind her and taking it. Oh, wait, sorry. Yes. Other way around.
Yes. He's throwing stuff and she's like, no, we're going to save the day.
Yeah, and he's like, no, we're not going to save the day. We're going to go home. What are you doing? Or if you, why are you saying we? It's not a we. I didn't read from the book. You read from the book. And she's just like, but she's throwing stuff, or he's throwing stuff willy-nilly, like a stack of books. It's like...
Oh, yeah. He doesn't care what she takes. He just cares that she goes.
When, I was like, wait a minute. Did they just, leave most of their stuff in Cairo and then venture out? Because there is so much shit in that room.
Yeah, I think so. I think because she lives in Cairo permanently, so I think they're just at her apartment.
Okay, because I was like, what? I was like, I'm so confused by, this turn of events and, what the suitcase is doing. Are we leaving Egypt? What's going on? I don't know. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Rick is about to put her over his shoulder and take her back to America, and it'll be fine. And Evie is not having it. So then Rick gives up, and he goes downstairs to have a drink, because women. And we encounter, what's his name? Winchester? No. Winston.
I did write this one down.
Yeah. We encounter Winston, the drunk old royal airman. And he always talks about wanting to have gone down with his comrades, and it's very cute. So then Benny, now we got a scene with Benny and Prince Imhotep.
Yes, and the blinded, tongueless dude.
Yes, yeah. And I feel like Benny takes a turn in this moment. Because, it's one thing to be like, hey, I've got this job that I have to do. But instead, Benny's like, Prince Imhotep thanks you for your hospitality, and he also thanks you for your eyes and your tongue. And the guy's like, oh no! And it's a big terrorist, don't you think?
Yeah, he definitely, it's very... And it's, the only time in the movie where he's truly, on that level of what are you doing?
Yeah,
the rest of it, he's just like, ugh, sorry, along for the ride, my bad. But this time he's just like, I have a little power and I'm hoarding it over you, and better you than me, brah.
Yeah, it's really true.
Oh,
it's really true.
He definitely enjoyed that too much, though. 100%.
Yeah, completely.
But I still hate it because I hate helpless people being murdered.
I know.
And this dude is a helpless little baby, just sitting there, no, and just gets murdered up.
Yeah, he just gets eaten. He gets straight up eaten.
Yeah.
So then the waters and booze, which I thought was a leap, they run bloody.
Well, maybe they really watered down the booze in there, that.
Oh, maybe. Oh, good take. I like that. That's a hot take right there. And then all of a sudden, there's firestorms.
So, but I loved that Jonathan apparently knows his Bible well enough to start quoting scripture about the plagues of Egypt.
That's true.
Which I meant to go look it up, but I'm like, wait a minute, which plague was it? But then Jonathan quoted it, so it was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, meteors like just fall in from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick immediately makes the jump of like, oh, the mummy's here. And
yeah,
immediately,
and he's like, I gotta go get Evie! Ooh!
Every time. He immediately runs to her every time, and I love it. Because he's like, oh, she's definitely in trouble. Better go. Yeah. And she is, always.
Oh, yeah, because let's review. Emotep's super hot for Evie as well. Because...
but they don't know that yet. They don't know that yet.
Totally.
But,
well, except for the fact that he called her a Noxuna Moon. I mean, his one true love.
Right, but they hadn't met with the Magi. That's when they find out that was his, lady love.
Yeah, completely.
He's running up there and sees Benny, but is too distracted by all the shit going on to, question Benny's presence.
And so then the mummy, Emotep, follows them into a room of some sort, and then sees a cat, and then becomes a sandstorm, and fucks off.
Just fucks right off.
It's crazy. Yeah, just in usually we say in a puff of smoke, but this is a tornado of sand. It's so crazy. Okay, so now they go to...
the curator.
Yes.
And this is where they get the information. The Magi's there. Surprise! Woo! And they explain the whole thing and he must have chosen you as a Noxuna Moon, the human sacrifice. And in this... scene, I was watching Rick's face in the background, and he's just casually interested, seems legit, yep, okay, he's not shocked or horrified, he's just sounds about right.
Yeah, he's just my luck, great, yeah, I'm into it. So then they need to get to that Sleepy Colonizing Misogynist, because he's going to be the next one. Oh, because they also find out that not only does he want all of the people who opened up the box.
Yes.
And until he gets that, he's going to be afraid of cats because he's not yet immortal, I don't think. He's not going to be immortal until he gets all of their fleshes.
And cats are the guardians of the underworld.
Yes. And the Egyptologist not only has all of that sweet, juicy organ meat that the mummy wants, but he has the Book of the Dead as well, which this priest of the death needs to resurrect his girlfriend. Now, here's my next question. Wouldn't he have those memorized as high priest of deathdom?
It's not I don't...
Didn't he write that book?
Right. Right. Well, this... Because they're gotta go get... Or, there's the eclipse. And then they're gotta go get that dude. And the Americans are oh, well, nah. And Evie's let's go get him. And Rick's no, absolutely not. He just throws her over his shoulder while she's still arguing with him and walks her in the room, dumps her on the bed, walks back out, two-handed shuts the door behind him. Such swagger.
You guys, he does this traditional Lukov carry that is just masterful. It was nice. Yeah, and so he's somebody guard the door. I'm going to go get that Sleepy Colonizing Misogynist. And so he enlists Jonathan, who definitely fights him on it. Evie's clamoring to go. And Jonathan's or I could just stay here. And he's Jonathan!
I know, he just takes charge. He takes charge really sexy. And it's just you two Americans, you stay here and watch the lady. Nobody gets in. You take care of her. And
yeah, also keep a hold on your kidneys.
Right.
Is all I'm saying.
Maybe make some good choices. Shut a window. I don't know. Nope.
So then the Egyptologist is in an alleyway and Rick finds Benny ransacking that dude's room. And then there is a scream and we see Emotep eat the Sleepy Colonizing Misogynist, never to be mentioned again. It's very sad for me. And then he gets the book. And then he belches weaponized flies.
Right at Rick's face. He manages to shut the window in time, but it was something.
Oh my god! He just unhinges his jaw and shoots a bunch of flies at Rick. It's crazy.
He does that jaw unhinge a lot.
Yeah, he does.
A lot. Even when he's regenerated, I'm kind of into it. I don't know.
Same. I'm really glad I'm not the only weirdo who was that could be useful.
Oh my god, you know what? I'm super okay with it. Let's get kinky. I don't know.
Okay, so then he eats the next cowboy as sand. He sandstorms him up.
And gets 75% sexier. Most of his face is fine now. Like, you can see that he was a very hot dude.
Oh, but then he eats... Oh, God. So then, I think it's like a scarab or a beetle or something.
Oh, yeah.
It climbs through his cheek folds, and he chews it right up. Goodbye. Wah. Okay. So then, Evie is sleeping like the angel that she is, because she done gave up. All right? She's like, I can conserve my energy because I'm a smart, capable lady, and I know what to do. So she's sleeping like a beauty. So then sand starts coming through the keyhole on her door, and that's how he enters her room. And then he did a big loom over her bed.
Mm-hmm. Which I would have been fine with if his face stayed.
If his face wasn't half decayed, Katie.
When I'm like, why is the decay moving around, Imhotep? Like, stay consistent. Like, stay consistently pretty so you can kiss the lady that you're gonna murder for your dead girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, that's all we ask.
And he just straight goes for it. He just, like, he kisses her while she's sleeping, and she has a minute of, or like, not a minute, but like a second of like, oh, and then she opens her eyes and is like, no!
No! And then Rick bursts in.
He kicks in the door. That man loves to kick in a door. And I love it too.
Does.
Like, I
Yes,
do.
It works for me.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, he sandwing ducks out of there.
Because he holds up a cat. He kicks in a door and holds up a cat because he came prepared for this conflict.
That's right. Rick really likes a tailored weapon.
Yeah,
he does.
He does.
Okay, so then he asks Evie if she's all right, and her silly brother answers. It's just really funny. It's very Jonathan. Okay, so then they rendezvous with the Magi and the curator, and they exposition a lot about how they need to find the gold book to kill him.
Yeah, because if the black book woke him up, the gold book might, like, kill him dead again.
Yes. And so then she starts doing a sexy brain. And she tries to, like, scholar really fast because there's a zombie horde covered in boils and sores who Imhotep has enlisted and, like, has as his psychic slaves. I don't know. Now, here's my next question, Katie. They've got 2 local bros who are tapped into 3,000 years of insider info.
Mm-hmm.
Why is she the one finding the gold book?
Because she's 1,000 times more capable than any of them, and I'm okay with
Come on!
But on that note, the Magi are so numerous in every other part of this movie, but the second Imhotep wakes up, they're like, bye, and it's just head dude left to hold in the bag to, like, put this dude down. And the rest of them, like, they could have been really helpful in the next couple scenes, but they were not there.
I know. I'm just saying that it has a lot less to do with the Magi and a lot more of the white savior complex of the screenwriters than anything else.
Yep.
All right, that's all.
Yep.
So she does a really sexy brain, and she figures out that the gold book has to be under the statue of Horus because they're flipped. Take that, Bembridge scholars.
Yeah.
Which is the thing she says. Okay.
So they chase him through the streets, and, like, it's a car chase, except the bad guys are all on feet.
Yes, that's right. The poor zombie locals are, like, getting hit by cars because they don't know any better because Imhotep doesn't care about their lives.
To be fair, Jonathan is going to stop because he's like, don't want to run over a bunch of people, and nope, they don't let him stop.
And Rick's not having it. No. Rick is like, put the pedal to the metal, broseph.
Gotta save your sister.
Yeah, and the final American falls out of the car, right?
But he was not even fighting. Everybody else is swinging fists and, like, defending the car, and he's just sitting back there with his arms spread, like, enjoying the ride, and they grabbed his arms to just hold him out of the car. Yeah,
isn't he, like, clutching the last organ?
Yes.
Anoxinamoon's organ thing? Yeah. All right, so then he gets et too.
Well, he, like, tries to offer it, like, oh, this will make it better, right? You can just take this back that I totally stole from a grave.
That's right.
And no, he definitely gets eaten real quick.
It's good stuff. So then the horde corners them, and Imhotep comes out in all of his hot glory, because now, you guys, he is not only fully regenerated, but he is wearing only a loincloth and a raggedy cape and this necklace that is very sexy.
Where did it come from? It doesn't matter.
Nobody cares. I certainly don't. So he comes out and he's like, come with me if you wish your friends to live. And Rick is not pleased about this. He licks his full lips and he tries to tell hot zombie daddy that he needs to back off. But then
I feel like Evie like weighs the odds, looks around, compiles all the evidence in that impressive brain of hers, and is like, no, we're going to go with this the way that we're most likely to survive.
Right.
And so
she's like, just come get me.
Like, he has to take me back to Hamanatra. You get there too? Like, you save me. Ooh. I have faith in you. Competence.
Yes. But then, as she's walking away, Brendan Fraser says, I'll be seeing you again. And Benny then takes the key from Jonathan the brother. And then they get double-crossed by Hot Zombie Daddy, and I thought he had more nobility than that. Yep. And come on.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I feel like he's weighed the odds as well and realizes that he probably doesn't want Brendan Fraser, like, on his ass. So
that's true. Yeah, so Imhotep's like, kill them all.
He doesn't even wait 10 steps. He's like halfway through the crowd. Like, he doesn't even, nope, just murder him up.
Yeah, and Evie's look of absolute shocked indignation is so perfect. She's like, I made an agreement. But don't worry, because the curator, what does he do? What is that word? I'm like losing it. He sacrifices himself, and he swords all the horde up and giving them time to escape via the sewers.
Because apparently, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yes, they escaped through the sewers. It definitely happened like that. Like,
yeah,
very
completely.
logical.
Yeah. All right. So he is a hero, and now they visit the washed-up, suicidal British pilot.
With his sweet mustache.
Oh, with that sweet, sweet mustache. And that really, really good drunk red nose.
Yes.
Anyway, so they're basically like, we need you to take us on this suicide mission. You're surely to die and save the world. And he is so in. He's been waiting for someone to say this to him. So he's going to fly them to Hamanatra, which, like, my next
He didn't need a sunrise to get there.
Yeah, thank you. How did he find the city without the mystical sunrise? Whatever you guys.
Well, but you know what? As cool as it is, like, they strap them to like to the wings of the plane and are flying.
Yeah,
and, like,
Jonathan and Ardith, the lead magi, are on the wings of the plane.
Yes, and meanwhile, like, Imhotep apparently travels by like Twister, like
by Sandstorm. Yeah.
And so he spits out. Yeah. Oh, he spits out Benny and spits out Evie, and they're just like all discombobulated. And like as he's walking down this sand dune, like his loincloth mostly falls away, so it's just like a little itty bitty covering the bare essentials. He gets more and more naked. I'm super into it.
Oh my gosh! And the cape is billowing in its raggediness in the background. And now all of a sudden, he's got these forearm leather cuffs. That I didn't know that would do that for me. And suddenly last night, 2 glasses of wine in, I was shouting. I literally was shouting, whoa, I am seeing this movie through a new lens.
Well, then, so he sees the plane because they're apparently timed up really well, and immediately decides to murder them with sand because that's his thing.
With his sand face.
Yeah, just like in the sandstorm bearing down on him, the sand face, and he swallows them, and Evie's like, oh shit, they're gonna die. And so she straight up kisses him like Jasmine and Jafar, and I'm so happy. And gosh. But it takes her a second to work up to it. Like, she's just like, because he's got his eyes closed, and she's like, "Oh, do I reach for him? Do I? Oh, gotta do it, and like just grabs his face and kisses him."
I am in my living room shouting, "Kiss, kiss, kiss!" And my note is Melody yell, "Kiss him, and his dastardly bare chest. What?
my note right there was Imhotep is almost naked.
Yes,
priorities.
Oh, so good. He is so hot. So then the sandstorm stops, and she's feeling very victorious.
Wait, but before we get there, real quick, when the sandstorm's happening, I love that Rick's instinct is to shoot the sandstorm with bullets.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know,
that's
he's trying so hard. Bang bang. He's all about the bang bang.
A couple of expertises, and he doesn't know what to do otherwise, and that's fine. Yeah. We support him.
Yes.
So then the sandstorm stops with the kiss because obviously he's very distracted.
Of course.
But the plane still goes down, and she is walking to Hamanatra with Benny and Imhotep, and Benny like tries to gloat a little bit, and she says that nasty little fellows like him always get their comeuppance.
And it's like the first time he's heard this. He's like, what? Like, are you sure? And she's like, yes.
Yeah. And she's like, so properly sexy. Oh, it's very nice. Every time she like gets all school marm on someone, I'm very into it.
Yes.
It's an odd reaction, but I'm fine with it.
Well, you can just sort of almost picture her in like the librarian outfit, like with like one of those like rulers, like slap your hand. Like, I'm into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I am right there with you. Okay. So then our crew, as they get out of the plane and stuff, and then they go to the crypt. And as they're like trying to figure out a collapsed hallway or something like that.
Yeah, I was like trying to dig into the pyramid ? Like, I don't know what's happening.
I don't know what they were doing. I didn't need to know. It was okay. Jonathan picks up one of the scarab arts from the wall, and then he gets scarab tunneled. It goes into his hand and goes under his skin, and he's screaming and screaming because obviously pain. But Rick grabs a knife and he cuts it out of him, and then
he like rips off his shirt partially first. Like,
oh yeah, that's true.
Very like no
buttons
hesitation
everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yes.
It's very nice.
And just switchblade in or not, whatever that knife in, pop out, gun bang. Scarab's dead.
And then Imhotep knows they are there. Oh. And for the second time in the movie, Evie looks and goes, Rick. Oh, no, she goes, O'Connell.
And I love that she hears gunshots and she's like, that's my man. Like,
yeah. Oh, it's such a romance. Okay. So then they find the giant. Oh, no. Then Imhotep says a spell that he doesn't need a book for at a wall. And he resurrects a bunch of his priests and he says, go kill them.
Yep.
So all of those gold eunuchs go and try to kill Rick. So then.
But they do it, yeah. So they're in the, in this treasure room and it looks like.
Find the treasure room.
It looks like the Cave of Wonders from Aladdin. Like it's just mounds and mounds of gold and treasure everywhere and like whatever. But oh no, the mummies are coming into the room in the most dramatic way possible, digging through the floor. Like
hand bursts through the sand floor. Oh my gosh. So then they start shooting, and then Benny, as they like run out of the room, Benny enters stage right and finds the treasure room. And Benny is very excited because he was promised gold, and he's just really excited that he doesn't have to get it from Imhotep's anus anymore.
Right.
So then the rest of the movie is basically Benny. We're getting quick flashes to Benny just like dragging giant bags of gold.
But if he had stopped with one, he would have been fine, and he would have ridden off into the sunset. But Benny is a greedy little shit and had to keep going back for more.
That's right. Nasty little fellows like him get their comeuppance, Katie.
Yep, they do. So like it flashes to Evie with like her hands, her wrists chained above her head. Why is she unconscious? Doesn't matter. It's fine. She wakes up in like a rat.
I don't care.
Like,
all of a sudden, like, Evie's tied up.
Yes, and being
she's like all cuffed.
Oh, I'm like, Imhotep, like, your audience. It's cool.
I don't know. I think this movie was made just for me and you. Yes. Both of us. That's it.
So she, like, a rat, like, crawls across her stomach and she's like, ugh, get off. And, like, rolls to the side to, like, make it go away. And, like, there's a mummy next to her. And it's Anck-su-namun's mummified body. Like, on a slab next to hers.
Yeah, she's just like, so it was all romantic and exciting. And then there's a dead lady there. Yeah. And I'm like, come on, man. Anyway, okay, so then they find the statue of Horace. The boys. We're just gonna call them the boys. It's Jonathan, Rick, and Ardith, and they find the statue of Horace. So then Benny takes them to the loadout, and then Imhotep unlocks the black book, and then the boys find the gold book of Amun-Ra. Mm-hmm. Oh man! Then my next note, because all of a sudden the zombie priests are coming out of the woodwork, and they can't hold them back anymore. And so my note is, the final local dude, Ardith, sacrifices himself for these mediocre white dudes.
Yeah.
Because...
But you know what? It's okay because he's got sweet magi skills, so he must know that he's not really going to die.
Yeah.
So I'll allow it.
Yeah. At that moment, though, I was just like shaking my fist at the sky.
Like,
because
they did
somebody throws like dynamite in there or something.
Well, and like they did it this is all their fault. Like,
yes!
Why are you trusting them to clean up their own mess that they started? Like, they have not done well to date, like, at all.
I know.
Everybody's died. But
just
you know
crazy.
It's cool. So then Anck-su-namun's soul, like, comes out of, like, the pool of souls, I guess, and like goes into her body. And I don't know why she needs a human sacrifice now when she didn't before. Maybe it's to make her, like, hot again. It's
probably
fine. It's fine.
You know.
So she has to kill Evie in order for her to be fully resurrected.
Yeah. So Imhotep is just about to kill Evie, but Jonathan shouts from the wings that he's got the book.
He just is like at the top of the staircase, like, Evie, I found it! Like, he's so proud of himself.
He is. He tosses his arms out to the side and he says, ta-da!
Well, and I love that, like, Imhotep this whole time has been like, I'm doing it for love, and, like, you know, whatever. But the second that he has, like, the threat that he might die, instead of just finishing his spell and killing Evie and getting his girlfriend back, he stops what he's doing and goes after Jonathan to get this book because it's a threat to him.
Oh yeah, this egomaniac cannot handle it. No. So then, this is another big, giant fight scene because Rick gets a sword from a statue and he starts fighting 17 zombie priests.
When is this before? Before this, right, is when Imhotep's choking Jonathan? Or is that after?
Oh.
There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of fighting going on. At one point, Imhotep has Jonathan as, like, choking him or whatever. And at this point, Jonathan is pickpocketing his loincloth. I don't know.
Oh, get it,
and
Jonathan.
Like Rick, like, chops off his arm, which now has a cord around the bicep.
Yeah.
Which I was super into. But he, like, just, like, reattaches it. And apparently the spell to Jonathan just starts reading the Golden Book all willy-nilly. Like,
yeah, he tries. And so he's trying to read it. And Evie... So Rick at some point has gotten Evie off of the altar. Yes. And Imhotep has awakened a bunch of the Pharaoh's old guards now.
Jonathan did, because he was reading it and he woke him up, but he didn't finish the reading. And so Imhotep was able to command them.
Oh.
So Jonathan woke him up, and then Imhotep's like, kill Rick.
Evie. Yeah, and Rick. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because then Anck-su-namun goes after Evie.
Yes.
So Jonathan is just, like, very casually walking through statues, trying to read this book, and he's like, what does this one say, Evie? And she's like, // oh God, trying to fend off Anck-su-namun, and she's like, what does it look like? And he's like, it looks sort of like a bear and a tree or something. She's like
a bird, like a bird.
Yeah. And so she's, like, saving her damn self in so many ways. Meanwhile, Rick is still fighting all these soldiers. And then finally, Jonathan gets the ability to command the soldiers. And so he stops them just in time from killing Rick. And then he says, now you need to go kill Anck-su-namun.
I love that was his priority, and, like, to save his sister instead of to, like, hold back the mummy for a little bit longer. Like, his priority was to save Evie.
Yeah, it is really nice. It was one of the only times in the movie when Jonathan was actually pure.
Yeah. He tries real hard, okay?
He does. Well, also, I think that he knows his limitations, because he's like, I could barely read the cover page. I'm not going to be able to figure out this 4-word incantation that vanquishes the big bad.
Right.
Like, come on, you guys. Okay, so then Evie gets the book. And now, what's his name? Imhotep is going after Rick.
Well, and I have a note here, and I don't know what. I don't remember exactly when this happened, but it says more naked. So I think he lost his cloak thing. His, like,
yes, he
robe.
did. Yeah, because my note is, meanwhile, Imhotep is just kicking ass and taking names in that tiny ancient set of underwear and armbands and necklace, and I am not okay.
Well, his, like, butt was showing through, like, one of the, there was, like, a cut in, like, the back of it. Ooh. I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh, I was into it. Jeez, I was a different person when I saw this movie for the first time. Okay, so she finds the spell. And my note is, it's 2 phrases, come on. And then the underworld chariot comes and takes his spirit away. And then, go ahead, Katie.
So then Rick's like, what the fuck, Evie? Like, you said it was going to kill him. Like, what? And so, like, Imhotep's running. And so Rick, it just was like, I guess I'm going to stab him in the stomach and hope for the best. And lo and behold, it does in fact kill him because he's mortal now. And so he gut wounds him, and like Imhotep like stumbles back into the pool of souls that is just sitting there. It seems like a safety hazard, but it's fine. And as he's like sinking into the souls, he says death is only the beginning, and like you see his face like decomposing all over again. And he sinks below and he's gone.
Yeah. And then we think that everything is good, but stupid Benny.
Stupid Benny.
He's tired. He's been dragging so many treasures, you guys.
You think that he would be like, I'm just going to set this thing on the ground where it's safe and then pick it back up in a minute. Nope.
Nope. He sets it on top of the self-destruct lever.
Yeah, the big red button.
Yeah, the big red button. So Jonathan, so everything starts like falling down. The ceiling starts tumbling. There's sand cascading everywhere, and they start running out. Jonathan drops the gold book into one of the pools of souls.
Well, because Jonathan's like, the treasure, and they're like, no, Jonathan, and then the book falls into the pool. Yeah. And Evie's like, wait, but the book. Like, she stops running and is like, but the book. And Rick's like, no.
I know. This is like the one, I'm like, Jonathan, you have treasure in your hands right now. It is made of gold. But no.
One job, man. One job.
Yeah, right? So they go out, and then Benny like almost makes it, and O'Connell stops, and he's trying to give Benny a hand as this giant thing starts like, it's going down, and Benny's about to be trapped, and then he is trapped.
And then O'Connell goes, bye, Benny. And it's almost a little
Benny.
sad.
It is. He needs his foil, So Benny gets his comeuppance indeed. He makes it all the way back to the Cave of Treasures, but then his torch starts going out.
Well, because the ceiling knocks off the mirrors that had been like lighting the whole place up, so it's just him and his torch. And then like a bug shows up, and he's like, shush, bug! And then all the bugs show up, and then he goes, ah! And then the torch goes out, and no more, Benny.
And then he gets super eaten by all those scarabs in their last meal. Benny is their last supper. So they escape, and they have to like run like hell because this thing is turning into basically a sinkhole. Yeah. Essentially. So it's going to the center of the earth, I'm sure.
Until they dig it up for the second book, or the second movie.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen the second movie actually.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think I realized that Brendan Fraser was in it. Otherwise, I would have seen it.
It's both of them as the lead, and they have kid, and Imhotep's back, and it's like less horror-y and more like adventure shenanigans.
Oh,
you just have to
squint
wonderful. A little bit at like some of the logistics, but other than that,
I mean, that's par for the course.
Yes.
So they're all standing there, and they're like, "What are we gonna do?" And then Jonathan gets grabbed on the shoulder by Ardith, the
who was
Magi
apparently
leader.
Standing right there in this desert, and they didn't notice. It's fine.
Yeah, he's like on the back of a camel right now, and they didn't notice him or the camel.
Yeah. Or the other 4 camels. Why were there camels? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Certainly not us.
Nope.
So he tells them that all of a sudden they have earned his respect. I don't know why.
Even though
they do not deserve it.
All they've done is clean up their mess and like get some people killed in the process and like destroy this entire city.
Yeah, and like unnecessarily ruin one of the wonders of the world with all of Egypt's wealth in it.
Right.
Along the way, just for shiggles.
Yeah, that's fine.
So then, this is where it all happens, you guys. Jonathan says, "Oh, we're going home empty-handed." Then Katee, you take it.
Well, oh man, I didn't write down the exact quote, but Rick's basically it's the equivalent of like, wow, this is so beautiful, and the person's like, yeah, it is, and they're looking at like you, and he's just like,
well, okay. So the exact quote is, Jonathan says, "We're going home empty-handed," and then Rick looks straight at Evie and says, "I wouldn't say that."
And he just like lays it on her, and after they kiss, they do this super cute nose thing where he rubs his nose against her nose, and like I didn't know I was into that, but I really am.
They do that nose nuzzle, and that is also in my notes. Oh my gosh, it is so good. And then they do this big, hopeful smile at each other, and then they get on the back of the camel with all the treasure on it.
And just ride into the sunset.
Yeah.
But seriously, Melody, you need to watch the second one because they are married, have been married for quite some time, and are still like super hot for each other. And it's like the best. Like,
I love
just
that.
Married couple relationship.
Gosh, I love that so much. Yes, I'm definitely going to watch it. That sounds so good. Oh, my last note is that they probably share the treasure on their camel with the stupid brother, but it's still an HEA.
It's cool. It's cool. He sort of helped a little bit.
A tiny bit. You know.
And they have the extra 25% to make up because the warden died. So it's all good.
That is true. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for choosing this. This was wonderful.
I had so much fun.
Yeah. This is the perfect movie. Oh my gosh. Okay, Katie. Do you have a lady love?
I do. I have been going to therapy forever, and this whole being quarantined or self-isolated or whatever you want to call it is wearing on me pretty intensely because I'm never alone, and introverts, we have issues with this. And so my therapist told me to try to at least twice a week to take a walk, like no kids, no dogs, no spouse, and just it's called EMDR, like you in time with your footsteps look between 2 points ahead of you, and it does some magic science stuff to your brain that I don't really understand, but it works. And it has been such a stress relief of like just helping me keep my sanity. So even if you don't do the eye thing, you just going for a walk by yourself with no one else. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I yesterday I went to take a walk and I was going to do it by myself. And then I realized that my oldest has been like such a big help, you know, as much as an almost 4-year-old can be. And like, you know, he was probably feeling pretty neglected because the baby's been pretty sick, like, you know, just cold, but still, you know, she's been clingy and gross.
When your stress level is going to be high because of what we're dealing with, like any kind of sickness, you're like, ugh.
Oh yeah, a high alert over here. So I was going to go on a walk by myself, and then I was like, hey, why don't we take a special big kid mama walk? And he was really excited about it, but it didn't do the thing that I needed it to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. So can I Google how to do this EMDR thing? Yeah,
you should be able to. It like replicates like rapid eye movement when you sleep, and it's a really good thing for like trauma, that it helps because when you have trauma, your brain like does weird things to it and files memories strangely. And so by going through with therapy and doing EMDR, it helps recategorize those memories and takes away some of the triggering aspects of them. And I super don't understand it, but it's like magic. Like they use it a lot with PTSD and like soldiers and like people who have childhood trauma. And so I highly recommend looking into it if that sounds interesting. But yeah, it's just the thing is like the rapid eye movement of back and forth that does something to your brain that is really good.
That's really cool. All right, I'm going to Google that because I need it. It's only week 2.
I know. God.
Feels like week 89.
It does.
Mine is a little bit more basic, but here we go. So I realized, you know, I've talked on the podcast before about like not being able to find a good enough lotion, especially in the winter time. And then a couple of the skincare HBs started, I don't know, I just basically lurked in a conversation they were in, and they talked about vitamin C serum. So I did some Googling and I decided to get some. And oh my gosh, it's crazy because apparently it wasn't that the lotion was not good enough. It's that my skin wasn't prepped in a way to soak in the moisturizing properties of the lotion. So this vitamin C serum, you put it on before your like overnight lotion or something like that. And you have to be a little bit better about SPF when you wear it because, you know, I don't know why. But there's the one I have is a professional grade, and it's vitamin C, E, and hyaluronic acid. And my skin is so much better moisturized now that I prep with that. Like I do it in between my toner and my moisturizer, and it is awesome.
Ooh, I've read about vitamin C, but I've never used it, like the serum stuff. It seems like magic to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, really. And I put it on and I'm like, this doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't smell like anything. It feels like it's not doing anything. But then I wake up and my skin is moisturized. It's bonkers. So yeah, that's my That's my lady love.
Sweet. That stuff's important, especially when you're trapped inside.
Yeah, completely. All right, Katee, where can they find you on the socials?
I am most active on Instagram, and it's Katee_Robert, Katee with 2 E's. And then I have also on Twitter, I think it's the same. And then I have a Facebook group, The Rabble, where I share like dirty excerpts and stuff as I'm writing.
Oh my gosh. The Rabble is a gift to my world that I can't even express.
Well, there are authors that like really keep their stuff under wraps, and I 100% respect that. But like, I am always so like, oh my God, I just wrote this filthy thing. Do you want to read it? Here you go. Like, I'm a sharer. I'm all about it.
Yeah. All right, cool. And I'll put those in the show notes. Yeah, I love your Instagram. I feel like it's this beautiful, like glimpse into your life, and it makes you like a tangible human in a really cool way.
Yeah, I try really hard not to only share the good stuff, like to give a little glimpse of the struggles too, just because I get a lot of like, how are you doing all this? And I'm like, it's not easy. I promise I'm not a unicorn. I'm in the trenches with the rest of you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Katee, keep being a badass.
And love yourself as much as Rick loves Evie.
Yeah! It's so much. Those sexy alpha heart eyes are just so good. All right, thank you so much for being here with us. I'm really, this is like seriously dream come true.
Oh, I'm so excited. I've been listening for quite some time, and so it's like, I love it. I'm so excited.
All right, and then you're going to stick around for a quick Patreon?
Yes.
All right, cool. Sounds good. All right, bye.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.